This is the story of 38-year-old Kenesha Spencer, a mother of 5 who thought she met the love of her life in 40-year-old Sharon Lewis. The two had a whirlwind romance that would lead to marriage, but this fairy tale would turn into Kenesha's worst nightmare when during an argument, Sharon would shoot Kenesha 14 times killing her and would also shoot his stepdaughter multiple times in an attempt to end her life. What would make him brutally kill the woman who reportedly loved him and would do anything for him, and how could he also try to kill his stepdaughter, who embraced him as a part of their family? Welcome to Viral Crimes. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories. This story takes us to Lake Charles, Louisiana. Kenesha Camille Spencer, a resident of Lake Charles, Louisiana, was born in the humble town of Milk River, Clarendon, Jamaica. Raised by her mother, Kenesha grew up attending Milk River Christian School, absorbing the vibrant culture and spirit of her homeland. In 1993, seeking new horizons, she moved to the United States and enrolled at Polytechnical High School. Shortly after graduating, Kenesha chose a path of compassion, becoming a caregiver, a role that would define her in more ways than one. Kenesha's caring nature wasn't just a part of her professional life, it was her essence. Employed at Lake Charles Memorial Hospital, she was adored for her fun-loving spirit and her fierce advocacy for those she cared for. She wasn't just there to aid the sick, she was a defender, a friend, and a confidant to those in need. 1999 marked a significant year for Kenesha as she embraced motherhood with the birth of her daughter, Kendria, followed by 4 other children in the years to come. Motherhood was more than a role for Kenesha, it was her calling. Her children were her world, and she was their unwavering protector and provider. Beyond her family life, Kenesha was the heart and soul of every gathering. Known for her legendary get-togethers, an invitation to Kenesha's home meant an evening of hearty laughter, delicious crawfish fettuccine, and her signature Jell-O shots and tequila rose. Her home was a hub of joy and generosity, where no one left hungry or heavy-hearted. Kenesha found love with a 40-year-old man by the name of Sharon Lewis, and after 2 years together, he asked her to marry him. She believed she had found her soulmate. However, her oldest daughter Kendria wasn't immediately convinced. The moment Kendria met Sharon, Kendria's gut told her something was off. He gave her bad vibes. Despite her initial reluctance, Kendria grew to accept him, mainly because she saw how happy he made her mother. Kendria consistently showed him respect and kindness, putting her initial reservations aside. The couple appeared to be in love, but as Kenesha and Sharon's marriage progressed, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Sharon began to show signs of possessiveness, a need for control, and a propensity for anger, which started to shake the foundations of their relationship. January 5, 2022, would be a day that would turn Kenesha's world upside down. On this day, Kenesha and her husband Sharon got into a huge fight. Sharon had it in his head that Kenesha was cheating on him, which she denied. Fed up, she told him to leave. She was finally done with the relationship. But when Kenesha was walking back into the house, Sharon took out a gun and shot her in the back. He didn't stop there. He went inside and then started shooting at Kenesha's 22-year-old daughter, Kendria, hitting her several times in the stomach and multiple times in the legs. Sharon took things to a terrifying level in a fit of uncontrollable rage. He dragged Kenesha into her bedroom, and there, he didn't just shoot her once, but kept pulling the trigger, a shocking 14 times, while he yelled at her to die. After that horrific act, he didn't calm down. When he came out of the bedroom, he started kicking his stepdaughter, Kendria, in the side with his boots, hitting her while she was down and hurting. And as if all that wasn't enough, he threatened her in the most horrifying way, telling her that if she wasn't dead, he'd finish the job with a shot to the head. It was a downright brutal and heartless outburst, far from any sense of humanity. In a desperate move to survive, Sharon's stepdaughter played dead. Meanwhile, the younger kids, just 7, 8, and 10 years old, were in their room, scared out of their minds, screaming and crying. Despite being shot several times herself, Kendria somehow found the strength to call 911 for help. The police got there and started knocking on the door, and that's when Sharon quickly hid the gun by the couch. Then, he dragged his stepdaughter into the room where Kenesha was. As she lay there, pretending to be dead, she heard her mom begging God to keep her alive, but in those final heartbreaking moments, her mom just fell to the ground and died. The police officer came in and Kendria grabbed his hand, asking him to help her. She was placed in the ambulance and rushed to the hospital where she spent 3 months fighting for her life. She was shot 5 times in the abdomen, multiple times in her leg and foot, and she had injuries to her head. Sadly, she was unable to attend her mother's funeral and was forced to watch her mom being buried on Zoom. She had to undergo bladder reconstruction as a result of the shots to her abdomen. She had her right leg amputated and had to attend physical therapy after her hospital stay and was fitted with a prosthetic leg. The grand jury indicted Sheeran on charges of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. After 35 minutes of deliberation, a Calcasieu Parish jury in January found Sheeran guilty as charged in the shooting.
Lewis has been found guilty as charged of first-degree murder of his wife, attempted first-degree murder of her daughter, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon.
He got what he deserved.
Justice was served.
Family members of Kenesha Spencer, who died, and her daughter, Kendria Peggy, who survived the shooting a year ago in Iowa, were thrilled that Sheeran Lewis stands convicted as charged and will likely spend the rest of his life in prison.
I'm happy. It's a relief that I finally could move on, that my mom got justice, that I got justice, and that he got what he deserved.
Peggy was shot numerous times and spent 3 months in the hospital.
My stomach, I had to get it reconstructed, my bladder reconstructed. I lost my leg.
The 911 audio captured Lewis telling her after shooting her she better be dead when he returned or he'd shoot her in the head. Then he went on to fire more shots into her mother.
I played dead because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here today.
When the mother and daughter were shot, 3 of Peggy's young sisters were in the house and could be heard screaming and crying. Lead prosecutor Jacob Johnson was struck by the cruelty and says a first-degree murder conviction is appropriate.
In this case, given the severity of the crime, given the fact that 2 people were grievously attacked, we felt that the most severe crime charged was appropriate. We also do that in the event that the law changes in the future and second-degree murder somehow becomes eligible for parole. I want to protect victims against people who are extremely violent like Mr. Lewis.
Lewis is to be formally sentenced March 22nd, though he'll receive automatic life in prison on the murder conviction.
He was sentenced to life in prison for first-degree murder, 50 years in prison for attempted first-degree murder, and 15 years in prison for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon.
Kendra survived being shot numerous times and has this advice for those living in volatile relationships.
Leave. Don't think twice about it. Abuse in a relationship, domestic, is not okay, and don't ever make it okay. Leave when you see the signs.
Peggy says the violence erupted after her mother said she wanted him to leave. First Assistant DA Jacob Johnson agrees leaving is best if possible when they see controlling behavior. But leaving can be tricky, and Women's Shelter Director Kathy Manuel says, if possible, it should be carefully planned.
You should leave or get out of the situation, but you have to do it safely because 75% of women are killed when they leave. So it's dangerous times.
But if there's danger and no time for planning, she says call 911.
When you leave, a lot of people think, I've got to get this together and that together. Not necessarily, don't put your life at risk to get a piece of paper. We can get you a new ID. We can get you a copy of your birth certificate, things like that. There are those resources.
Kendrick called 911 even after being shot.
Kendria is now trying to piece her life back together after this traumatizing tragedy. She has been separated from her sisters who have went on to live somewhere else. She has plans to go to nursing school to become a registered nurse. The tragic story of Kenesha Spencer is a reminder that what begins as a dream can sometimes turn into the most harrowing of nightmares. She believed she had found her Prince Charming, a partner with whom to build a future and share a lifetime of joy. The love story she envisioned was one filled with happiness and the kind of love that fairy tales are made of. Yet, in a cruel twist of fate, the life she hoped for spiraled into terror, a living nightmare that no one should ever have to endure. Kenesha's life, so full of potential and care for others, was cut short in an act of senseless violence. Her story is a heart-wrenching testimony to the fact that the decision to end a relationship, to step away from love when it no longer serves or feels right, should never lead to violence. Love should be a bond of mutual respect, not a chain of possession. When someone decides they no longer want to continue together, it is not, and never can be, a justification for harm. If the day comes when someone chooses to walk a different path, it is a sign to let go, not to tighten one's grip. You cannot force someone to stay with you, and to attempt such is to undermine the very foundation of what healthy relationships are built on, freedom and respect. The end of a relationship, while painful, is not the end of the road. It is merely a turn in one's journey. My condolences to her friends and family. She should be here. May you continue to heal and one day find peace. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.